Good morning. This is Jason Dean coming live at you again for another Film Fanatic Bonanza. This is going to be a little bit of a different show. I don't usually do shows where I talk about a whole bunch of movies that I just recently purchased or bought and, where I haven't seen them yet. But yesterday was a pretty exciting day, pretty busy day. I had three gigs yesterday at the Waldo Theater with three different bands, and it was fun. It felt like it went pretty good for the most part. It was a lot of work, a little bit of pressure, just because I had to play for three different bands, and it was most of the projects that I'm involved with nowadays are mostly original based kinds of things. So it's a lot of material to remember, and some of the music is pretty hard and challenging, but I thought it went pretty well for the most part. And we played at the Waldo Theater in Waldoboro, which is an amazing place. I've talked about the Waldoboro Theater quite a bit. They have a an amazing film series there called Waldo After Dark, and I've been there a bunch of times to see movies. And I think it's probably hands down my favorite place to go and see a movie. The Waldo After Dark series is amazing because they really specialize in a lot of B movies, exploitation movies, a lot of movies from the 80s. And the sound system and everything that entails is just incredible. And it's amazing seeing movies, in that format on such a really high level, high quality system. And it's great. But they're starting to do music things there also. I've only seen one music event there. I went to go see Victor Wooten in the fall of last year, and that was pretty amazing. Victor Wooten, of course, is a really world famous bass player, jazz fusion bass player, and he played there in the fall, and that was the only time I've seen music there. And the sound was amazing. And I know, granted, they brought in their own sound people, and but the sound was really great. And but for the most part, every time I've gone there, I've gone to see movies. So, and they just started to really, kick things off there. It's been a new development here in the Mid Coast, Maine, and it's an amazing place. They're having all kinds of events. John Waters, the famous you know, trash director, is going to be there in June. I missed out on getting tickets for it. It sold out so quickly, and I missed the ball. There's Patty Griffin is going to be coming there, and there's also going to be some original bands. One band that's a very popular band here in Maine, or at least at one time, and they've kind of made a comeback. This band called the Tough Cats, which is an awesome band, and they're going to be playing there in I think July with Becca Biggs, who's a local folk rock artist. But the thing that's cool about this theater is that it's growing, and they're getting huge names, and they offer a real eclectic variety of different things. And especially for me, being a film fanatic, I've done coverage of pretty much all the movies I've seen there over the last few months. I've gone there maybe once or twice a month when I can make it happen, and it's always an awesome experience. The folks who run Waldo After Dark are just super cool people, and so the show last night was really, I think, for what it's worth. It's small peanuts, or however you want to look at it. But I kind of feel like for us, it was a little bit of an historic event because this is a theater that was virtually closing at one point because they didn't have very much, they didn't have a financial backer. They needed, the theater itself was in dire need of repair, and there's been this renaissance, and they had a bunch of money put into the theater. They refurnished the entire theater, and it's really amazing. Like I said, it's my favorite place to go see movies now. They're also getting these big, huge names that are to come there, some of the biggest names in the industry. And they've got artists that are coming, like say for John Waters, and another one that's going to be coming is Henry Rollins is going to be coming there in July, which is a big, really big deal. They've pretty much out put in a bid that got taken. They basically beat out places in Portland and other bigger areas in Maine. And the Waldorf Theater is located in downtown Waldoboro, and there's essentially not a whole lot there at all. So it's pretty amazing that this small little town has this amazing theater, and suddenly it's becoming a thing, a destination. So when I said it's kind of, for what it is, historical, we were like technically the first bands that played the bands that played last night, which was the Whitehead Dean Group, which is a jazz group that I have with my great friend Mike Whitehead, who plays trumpet in that band. He's also the bass player in Quantum. It was that band, and then it was also Simplexity, which is a band where it's more or less like jazz fusion music, and it's all original music. And then another band that I play with called Electric Bonfire, which is kind of psychedelic rock. We have some funk and rock and roll and some reggae music in it, and we do some like improv. But for the most part, all three bands, especially the last two, but for the most part, all of them are all original bass projects. A lot of fun, and they're for me they're really challenging, because they're very, very different from each other, but yet there's a lot of commonality with all the bands. I think of it too in some ways, like the other day or a couple of weeks ago, somebody was asking me, well, how many bands are you in now? And it was funny because a new project that I just started with some friends, Blind Owl, we just had our first gig about a week or two ago. And that's kind of that's a very new project that started this winter, and that's a lot of fun. That's another original project, and that's like a, surf rock, punk rock, indie rock kind of a thing. And it's all original music, and we had our first show. And at the time when I got involved with that band, I was like, well, this is a lot of fun. They're friends, and they're cool, really cool people. But I was like, I don't know if I can really take on another project. I don't think I have the time, but I really love playing that music, and I really love those guys. So I was like, I'm gonna, I'll do it. So, and I was in there, and this person was asking me, how many bands are you playing in now? Because they know I, play in a lot of different projects. And it was funny because at one point I couldn't really remember who was what, and I remembered most of the bands, but I was like, wait, I think I'm leaving out a band or something. But then yesterday I was thinking about it, and I was like, oh wait, no, I'm in 8 bands right now. And, on paper that's probably crazy. It's probably overwhelming. And, with something like that and that kind of commitment, it's very easily, you could for myself, very easily be maxed out. But I don't feel that way. It's funny. I feel like each band is very, very different from each other. And I love that they're mostly all original based groups. And I really feel like they all are very different from each other, but yet they're all really, really connected. And of course, my favorite project, the project that's my baby, and my project that I put as my priority first and foremost over everything is my band Quantum. And there's been times where I'm like, well, maybe if I didn't have this band or this project, I could focus totally on Quantum and just do that and make that a thing. But I feel with that, with how things are, we're still able to do lots of things, and it never has felt like too much of a chore trying to navigate the schedules, booking shows and rehearsals, all those things. it gets a little bit hectic, but everything is pretty much set and fixed. I don't always rehearse with each project all the time. So I do have a busy schedule, but it also is very flexible and actually pretty mellow for the most part. So it's a cool balance. Somehow it's worked out. But I feel like it's interesting because I feel like each band is connected, but then I feel as far as in regards to like Quantum, which is my that's my baby and that's my priority over everything else. I feel like all of the other projects help Quantum. I feel like it all kind of influences it. I feel like all of those things every now and then if I'm writing a song for Quantum, I have this thing of where I start hearing an influence from maybe Simplexity or Electric Bonfire or Blind Owl or some or the jazz group that we have. I hear like some kind of sound or element that is part of those bands, and I hear it creeping into what I'm doing with Quantum, and it acts as an influence, and it's also for me an inspiration. So I feel like all of those things, even though it's a lot of hats to wear, it all really helps and enhances and inspires me for my band Quantum. So I kind of feel like, to a degree, it overall helps the whole situation. So it's kind of an interesting thing. But so, but yesterday before I went to the show and we set up and everything to do sound check, I came across on Friday night. I came across on Facebook that Opera House Video, which is the local video shop here in Maine, pretty much the only place that I know of in Maine that is a fully functional, operational video store that you can go in and rent movies, DVDs, Blu-rays, and even VHS and games. It's the only place that I know, and somehow that place is still going, and it's still, I think, going pretty strong. It's been around for probably 25 years or so. So when I first came to Maine, it was a place, and it's had numerous owners since then, but it's always kind of stayed true to where it started, and it still has that same, still provides that same kind of service. And I still have a membership there. I go there. I don't go there as much just because I've been collecting movies more on my own. So I've been buying lots of movies, but I still go there. I typically go there to buy. Now I go there when I do go there, it's like maybe once a month or so, and I usually go there to buy or to rent new releases. So I used to go pretty much every week, but I've become more of a collector and more of a, I've been buying more movies on my own, so I have plenty of things to watch and do on my own when it comes to entertainment. But yesterday they were having this massive sale. It was a street sale. Basically, they got over the years and months, Opera House has gotten really inundated with and overwhelmed with the amount of movies that they've acquired. And there's tons and tons of movies that they're not able to put out in the store. So they decided to have this massive sale, and I saw it yesterday. I came home late Friday night from a gig, and I happened to be on Facebook, and I saw that Opera House was doing this big sale event, and it was going to be like this outdoor kind of thing, and all the local businesses were also participating with the same kind of thing. And I was like, this sounds really cool. And it was going to go from 11:30 to 4:30 yesterday. So I got up a little early in the morning, and I went there, and I got there about 10 minutes after 11. I got there early, and there was one. It was funny. And it was yesterday. Today also, but the weather is really rainy, so everything was inside. But I got there early, and there was one other guy in there waiting, doing the same thing I was doing. And then over time, they started setting up the tables, and I got a shit ton of movies, and I'm super excited. So today's show is going to be about what I bought, and I'll talk a little bit about these movies. Most of these movies that I bought, uh, I don't think I've ever seen. So super excited. I feel like I struck gold. I did drop a little bit of cash, but in the long run, totally freaking worth it. And the other thing is that this sale really benefits Opera House because they get the money directly. So, and they only are selling, everything was really marked down, and they're only dealing with cash, and they get that money directly. So it's a real positive for this really important business. So today's show is going to be basically me going through these movies. So kind of excited. So yeah, yesterday's sale at Opera House, they mostly had DVDs. They had a pretty. They didn't have a whole lot of Blu-rays. I try to mostly as a well film fanatic and as a collector. The main thing I seek out, are Blu-rays because to me it's like it's the superior format. It's just Blu-ray 4K. I have some 4K also, and Blu-ray 4K is amazing. 4K is even a little bit better. I noticed the pixelation for a lot of movies is better. The but the thing is that's a little bit hard around getting 4K. At least for me, is I don't have a regular 4K player, and most of the 4Ks out there are very specific to where you can only use a 4K player for to watch those movies. But there's also a lot of Blu-rays that come out that are formatted in 4K, but yet they're still in Blu-ray, so you still get the 4K experience. So I don't have a 4K player per se. I have a DVD Blu-ray player. It's mostly a Blu-ray player. So luckily, a lot of the movies I do buy are technically 4K, and I notice a high really even a high end Blu-ray, even a standard Blu-ray is really really amazing. But really high end Blu-ray 4K is, I think, the best way to see a movie. It's the best quality all around. The pixelation is just perfect. The sound is usually amazing, and usually for all of those formats, and pertaining to Blu-ray 4K, the everything is remastered, so it's even more enhanced than say if the film was released in the theater. But they didn't have a whole lot of Blu-rays, but I did buy some. So I bought this whole big freaking giant bag here. So I'm going to just go through these movies. Again, some of them I have seen. Most of them I don't think I have seen at all. So I was super excited. So very, very super. It made my day yesterday, and I felt like it was Christmas morning. So this first movie I got, this is a Blu-ray, and this is a really cool movie. I saw this pretty much when it came out on DVD, but visually it's a really awesome movie. It's a pretty dark movie. It's kind of an intense movie. I'm a huge Ryan Gosling fan, and this is The Place Between the Pines. A very interesting movie. Very slow. I kind of forget what it's really about, but it stars Ryan Gosling, of course, Ava Mendes, Bradley Cooper, and Ray Liotta. One of the last films that Ray Liotta was in before he passed away. But this is a really good movie, and visually, it was a really intense. It's a very intense movie in a lot of ways. It's kind of a depressing movie, but I was pretty excited about buying this. I got this. This is a Blu-ray formatted movie. So this was also by the same director who did a film called Blue Valentine, which is actually a really good movie also. And I can't remember the director's name. Derek Sinference. He also, I believe, directed Blue Valentine, which also starred Ryan Gosling. So I was super excited to buy this. I've only seen this one time. I've only seen it on Blu-ray. I mean, I've only seen this on DVD. So this was super cheap. So I bought this on Blu-ray. This has a whole bunch of special features on here. So super excited. So and the next Blu-ray I bought, which is a really awesome movie. This is a killer western directed by Quentin Tarantino, Django Unchained. I've seen this movie a few times. Jamie Foxx, Leonardo DiCaprio, um, Samuel Jackson's in this, Christopher Waltz. This is a really awesome movie. It's brutal as all hell. The ending is just a bloodbath. I It's been a few years since I've seen this movie, but I'm super excited. I've never seen it on Blu-ray. I have not. I've seen it probably 3 or 4 times on DVD, but it's been quite a few years since I've seen this movie. But this is a killer Western movie that is takes place during the time of slavery, and it's a brutal movie, but it's awesome, and it's a I think it's Quentin Tarantino. He can't do anything wrong. I think pretty much every movie he's done has just been pretty spectacular. The only movie of his that I think isn't very good is Death Proof, which stars Kurt Russell. I think that movie was kind of a dud, but other than that, everything he's done is just amazing. My favorite Tarantino movie is probably Reservoir Dogs, but the other movie I really, really love of his that I feel is underrated is The Hateful Eight, which is also another Western that he did. I love that movie to death, and that is something I really want to get on Blu-ray at some point. I did see that on a big screen, and that movie is amazing. But this is an awesome movie too, and so super excited I bought this on Blu-ray. This is another Blu-ray here, and I got some older black and white films, which I was really excited about. This is a movie called Shake Hands with the Devil, which I thought James Cagney, classic, iconic American actor who was the star of a lot of early films in the 40s and 50s, a lot of film noir films. I'm a huge fan of film noir. This stars James Cagney, Don Murray, uh, Dana Winter, and Gillis Johns. And this looks really cool. I don't believe I've ever seen this movie. This is remastered also in 2K. They have 4K and then also 2K, but the quality of this is probably going to be pretty awesome. This came out in 1959, so this looked like a classic. I love James Cagney, and it was super cheap again, so I got this. I'm really excited about that. I don't think I've ever seen that movie. And then I got this also, Fragment of an Empire, which I don't know anything about. This is, I believe, a Criterion. No, this isn't a Criterion. And this looks like kind of an interesting movie. I don't know anything about this movie. I believe it's like a silent film that came out in the 20s. So, again, I was like, why the hell not? This looks really great. It looks visually it looks amazing. Never seen this, never heard of it. It's from like the 20s. It's a silent movie. So, super excited to check this out. And the uh, the quality of this looks amazing on Blu-ray, I'm sure. So, I mean, just judging from the photos and things on the back. So, super excited. Beautiful packaging. I think it's a French movie. So, super excited about that. And then I also got, didn't get a whole lot of Blu-rays. I think I got about, um, yeah, I got about five Blu-rays in total. And this movie looks really cool. I've never seen this before. This is The Lonely and the Brave with Kirk Douglas. Kirk Douglas, of course, one of the most iconic American actors. He's this awesome, he was the star of Spartacus. And he was in a movie that is just an amazing Brian De Palma film called The Fury. I did a review on that. But, just an iconic American actor. So this looked really interesting. This is from the 60s. It was directed by David Miller. Never seen this movie before. It came out in 1962. It's got some pretty cool special features on here. So I was like, hell yeah. It stars Kirk Douglas, Gina Rowlands, and Walter Matthau. 1962. I think it's like a western. So, yeah, pretty excited to watch it. These last two films, this is black and white. I'm a huge fan of black and white, so super excited to watch this too. Never seen it before. That's all the Blu-rays I got. The rest of the films I got were all DVD. So they had some really great. I was really surprised. They had a lot of like exploitation movies, and I was just like, "What?" So this is the first one for like in the horror exploitation world. This is a collection. George Romero's Zombie and Dawn of the Dead. So super excited. It's got two movies on it. This looks really awesome. These are great movies. It's got the classic zombie on here that was originally a George Romero film. Yeah, super excited. Yeah, Zombie was directed by Dario Argento, of course, who the master Italian filmmaker. I've haven't seen it in a very long time, but it's a classic. And then it's also got George Romero's Dawn of the Dead, which is one of the greatest zombie movies ever. I super excited. So it's got two movies. It's got some cool special features on here, mostly commentaries, but what a great bargain. So super excited to add these to my collection. They look like they're pretty good quality. They're both special edition and remastered, so super excited to watch that. This movie looked uh, really bizarre, and I never heard of this one. And this is another DVD. This is Andy Milligan's Surgikill, and this looks like a really bizarre movie. From Andy Milligan, who is like considered to be, at least this is what it says on the back of the box, that this is like he was one of the most bizarre directors in like the 70s and 80s. I think this movie is from like the late 70s. It looks pretty weird, looks pretty strange. Looks like a real grimy kind of exploitation movie. It's like a horror comedy movie. So, yeah, Surgikill, Andy Milligan's by Andy Milligan. Never heard of it before. And again, this was like $2 or $3, so super excited to watch this. I've never seen it before, never heard of it, never heard of Andy Milligan, so we'll check this out. A lot of these movies too that they had, or movies that they never put out in the store, so never came across them. This next one looked really interesting too. This is like a compilation, and it's called Spirits of the Dead: Three Tales of the Macabre by Edgar Allan Poe, and it's got these three short films, and one is directed by Roger Vadim, Louis Malle, and Fellini. So I was like, shit, yeah, I love Fellini. So it's basically like three short films, and they're definitely like old school films from like the 60s. And they're all based on, all three directors do a version of an Edgar Allan Poe story. Bridget Bridget Bardot is in this one, is in one of them. Alain Delon, Jane Fonda, and Terrence Stamp, which I love Terrence Stamp. So yeah, super excited to check this out. This is pretty old too. I'm not totally sure how old this is though. I think it's from like the 70s. But yeah, super excited. I figure why the hell not? This looks like a great steal. So I picked this bad boy up. So looking forward to watching this. I've definitely never seen this before. And then also, this looked really cool. This is called Midnight 2, Sex, Death, and Videotape. Got this on VHS. This was directed by John Russo. This is a slasher film that he directed. And John Russo, one of the most, important figures in the zombie world and horror world. John Russo, of course, was responsible for co-writing Night of the Living Dead by George Romero, and he worked on a lot of Romero films. But he also did. He was also a director too, but he did a lot of slasher and horror exploitation movies on the side. So this looks really cool. I've never seen this movie. This was directed by him and written by him solely, and it's a total. It looks like it's a total like straight up slasher exploitation movie, and slasher films are my favorite. So super excited. It comes with a bunch of interviews with John Russo. So it looks super sleazy and super low budget and kind of shitty and amazing. So super excited to check this out. Never seen this before, never heard of it before. So very, very cool. I'm all about the new discoveries. This is not a new discovery, but this is such a classic. I do want to get this movie on Blu-ray because it's just an amazing movie by John Carpenter. But it was a steal. I bought it on DVD. And that is Big Trouble in Little China by John Carpenter. Just a classic. One of the best John Carpenter movies ever made. Starring the infamous Kurt Russell. Such a great movie. Such a crazy, bonkers movie. I love this movie to death. I do want to get this on Blu-ray, but I figure, what the hell? This looked like a pretty cool edition. It's probably really good quality. So it didn't come much in the way of special features, but I was like, screw it, I'm going to just buy it because it was so cheap. So classic, classic movie. I love this movie to death. Super excited to watch it. I haven't actually seen Big Trouble in Little China in a super long time. This looked like a really cool movie. This is called Don't Open the Door. This is like some super low budget exploitation movie that came out in 1979. Looks very cool. I love the artwork. This was also a DVD. It's a movie that was directed by S.F. Browning, who did a bunch of like exploitation movies in the 70s. Keep My Grave Open, Scum of the Earth, Don't Look in the Basement. Scum of the Earth. I do own that, and that's a killer like exploitation movie. And Herschel Gordon Lewis was involved with that. He basically, I think, yeah, Herschel Gordon Lewis directed it, but I believe S.F. Browning wrote it, and it's a great movie. Yeah, 79, my favorite time period, the late 70s to early 80s. Never heard of this movie. It looks spectacular. I can't wait to watch this. Don't Open the Door. Yeah, 1979. Looks super cool. This movie I was super excited about. I never heard of this before, and that is John Waters' Multiple Maniacs. This looks really awesome. I've never heard of it. This is a film that came out. This is an early John Waters film. This came out in 1970. And it's all remastered in 4K, but it's DVD. Yeah, this looks crazy. And Divine is also in this film too. So super excited. John Waters, master sleaze filmmaker. This is part of the Criterion Collection too, which is pretty awesome. Never heard of this movie, never seen it. I love John Waters to death, but I actually don't own any of his films, which is crazy. So super excited to check this out. It looks like a beautiful package. It is a Criterion too, so super excited. I thought that was a great find. Again, super super cheap. It was like a couple of bucks. So snag that bad boy up. And then we got about 4 more movies that I got here, and these are pretty. These look really amazing. These are look like some serious exploitation movies. This movie looks really awesome. Suffer Little Children. This looks totally sick and awesome. This is a British movie, a horror exploitation movie, which I've never seen. Actually came out 1984. and it's a British movie. It looks pretty brutal. Suffer the Little Children. Never heard of this movie. It was directed by Alan Biggs. So, and I think this movie was one of the films that was kind of included in one of the video nasty lists, and it was banned for a while. So, yeah, this looks awesome. I have never seen it before. Super excited to check this out. It looks pretty gory. It looks pretty nasty, and it looks like a pretty cool transfer. It's got some cool special features on here too. The uh, the cover is just awesome. I love the cover. So yeah, super excited to check this out. Suffer the Little Children. And the version of there's two versions of this film. There's the theatrical release and then the uncut version. So very very cool. And then the next one I got is an older film, special edition. Don't Be Afraid of the Dark, starring Kim Darby and Jim Hutton. And this looked really cool too. I think I've seen this movie, not totally positive. And it's basically like a ghost story, I believe. And this looks like a pretty low budget horror ghost story kind of a film. Um, Trying to see what year this came out. 73. So, yeah, super excited to check this out. One of my favorite decades ever. This was super cheap. I don't think I've ever seen this before. I've heard of this movie. So, very excited to buy this. And this is actually another Blu-ray that I bought. This is actually a Blu-ray. This is the only kind of documentary I got, and that is Until the End of the Earth. This looked pretty wild. This was directed by, this is a Criterion Collection too. It's a German movie, and it was directed by um, Wim Wenders, who is a pretty famous director. The David Byrne did the music for this. This looked like a really interesting movie, and this is part of the Criterion Collection. So I figure, what the hell? Why the hell not? This looks amazing. So I snagged this guy up. It looks like an awesome package. I mean, it comes with like 2 discs. I don't even know what the hell it's about, but it just looked wild. I'm pretty familiar with Wim Wenders, and David Byrne did the music for it, so I was like, okay, I'm gonna buy it. It was like, I think it was like $4. So super excited. This is a Criterion Blu-ray 4K version. Criterion is typically super expensive. I love the movies that they put out, but they're super expensive. So I just figured I'd snag it up. So yeah, super excited. So stay tuned. I will be doing a video where I'll be doing reviews of each of these movies in the next couple of days. So super excited to dig into these and start watching them. So thanks again, and that's all there is to talk about. Have a great day. Peace.